All right, everyone, good evening. Hopefully, I'm coming through just fine on sound. All right, pretty exciting stuff. We actually got, just was checking the kind of Eve news items earlier, a few hours ago, and some pretty good developments on CC concerning the moon mining, so we'll definitely cover that. But as always, I'm Rodin, and we're here to do our Eve Station Trading, episode 25. Man, 25. Ooh, we're almost a quarter done. So I'll say the markets have been oddly active in kind of obvious places. Yeah, so we'll go over. Actually, I'm really glad we had the picks that we had from last week to review today. I think they're going to be really good barometers as to how the conflicts are shaping up, if they're even still on, how that's panning out. I'll be honest, I'm not very knowledgeable when it comes to the purely diplomatic moves that seem to be happening. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like things are kind of cooling down and shifting. So, what does that mean for the market? It's a chance for things to kind of catch their breath for the most part. So, we'll see. I think it's going to be pretty relevant as far as the things that we're going to be reviewing today. All right, so the first I'm going to go over, we called a buy on, or not necessarily a buy. It was a soft call from last week, observing Plex. So let's check that out. We actually did mostly pilot services last week. I'm glad we did, actually. I'm really, really glad we did. All right, so we call from last week, we called Plex a soft call for a buy. Yeah, yeah, I'm okay with. I'm pretty happy with that call. I'm pretty happy with that because right now, so that would have been right around here. So right around here, this one we would have called it. And now that it's established, it's still doing buy signals, but it's a more established floor here at the 3 million mark. That's a lot higher than I thought it would end up, to be honest. A lot higher. I was actually anticipating to end up between like 2.8, 2. Yeah, like 2.8, 2.8, 2.7. That's what I was expecting at least. But yeah, we can work with that. I think that kind of makes sense. I'm curious to see how that actually correlates to player population, but I don't think it's got anything to do with that, to be honest. From a volume perspective, so let's actually kind of break this down a little bit. During this period right here, it's a sell-off, to be honest. Increased volume, very kind of outlier-ish almost drop in price, but then it stabilized again. So people are just dumping it. I want ISK. Take my Plex. I want ISK. That's what's happening. And now it's stabilized at the 3 mil mark. Is it worth flipping? Last week it wasn't. It wasn't worth flipping. It was worth capturing. I think it's still worth capturing it on buys. It's hard to anticipate when this will actually. I imagine this will actually start to pick up as we see more development into the moon refining. I'm sorry, moon mining and refining mechanics. Uh, Dankstop asks, would it be a good time to sell off my entire warehouse full of drakes? Are they regular drakes or are they navy drakes? Because Navy drakes are actually looking really good right now. It's a bit of the reverse of what we've seen a few times during the conflict, which is actually quite interesting. All right, so going back to the question of is Plex worth flipping actively right now? At least not during U.S. time zone. This very moment, no, it's not worth it. It's following that same trend of commit to buys, then commit to sells. Dang stops. I'm not a rich man, so normal drakes. You should really try faction warfare. Just saying. You should really try faction warfare. Like it's one of those low tier methods to begin to earn big money if you're okay with putting in some actual like elbow grease type of work. It's work, man. It really is work. It's activity based. It's not nearly as good as say straight up like efficient ratting or mining in nullsec, but it's very low as far as the gear needed and the time. It's pretty low investment. So that's how I got started really on the road to really stockpiling money, stockpiling gear. All right, so Plex, no change in Plex. Continue to buy it if you have an eye for saying, oh, I'm gonna buy a couple this week, I'm gonna buy a couple next week. As long as the buy signals are there, I'm gonna keep buying it, or I'm gonna keep placing buy orders. And then once the signals change, then I'll change my my movement. I think that's a great strategy. It's really one of the best, especially with how the Plex is now, with how little it costs. I think it's just no longer feasible for it to be an actively flipped item. When it was the normal large Plex, I think that was actually doable. You can earn a bit over 1% per trade. When you consider the volume at play, that actually is not bad. All right, our next buy that we called from last week was excavator mining drones, which made a lot of sense since folks were engaged in a conflict and not a whole lot of demand on it, so it dropped the price. Let's see if it picked up. It's going to be a really good indicator of if folks are coming back or at least starting to not commit all of their stable of tunes, right? This is an increase from last week. It's almost flippable, actually. Actually, it should be. Let's check it out real quick. A slight increase. So we were right around here. I think we were a really good spot to actually have bought it, and we caught it just as it was transitioning from buy signal to sell signal. That's really cool. That's really good. Really good. Great timing. Great timing. I mean, yeah, I mean, we actually we would have fulfilled the whole cycle just in a week, so that's not bad. You're looking at 750, 760 mil. If you had bought some from last week, 750, 760, you're able to put it against sell orders of 874. Yeah, let's do that's quick, man. Let's say 760. It's 14% difference. 14% margin before taxes. Considering the actual value per unit, that's huge. That's huge. So hopefully someone was able to take advantage of that. That would have been great. Yeah, and it's pretty normal volume, 200 or so. Yeah. Hopefully someone was able to profit off of that. That'd be good. At least somebody, hopefully, made a profit off of that. It was a tough call, actually. I was kind of hesitant when I made that call because it was. I'm not too keen on the dynamics of the activities of the miners. Not the act of mining, but how quickly they need their stuff replenished. and how quickly stuff gets to market and made and all that stuff. The whole production line, the whole supply and demand picture. I'm just not too keen on the excavator mining drone picture, but it was a gamble. But I think it would have been a worthwhile gamble if someone actually did that. The next one's the Gila. The Gila mostly because I actually was able to. I had bought it and I'm still holding on to it. The sell signals haven't quite kicked in yet. Let's check it out anyway. We captured it at 202 mil per unit last week. It's continuing to go down. Okay, cool. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Actually, it's even a better picture for it to be a buy. Why are they dumping it now? Yeah, it's better to have bought it this week than last week, unfortunately. We still got it at, while it was displaying buy signals. So I'm not too worried about reselling this, especially with, we're going to be working our way out of the summer slump and into, the colder seasons, and when folks usually start coming back to the game, because it's not as nice to be outside for the most part. It's a weather related thing, right? Yeah, so I'm pretty confident that I can actually flip these. It just takes a while, so it's one of those things. I would say, especially for the higher end items, like the markets just seem really like slower than it's definitely slower than last year. You may find yourself in a position where you're having to hold on to your stock a lot longer, as opposed to actively flipping things. Like this time last year, all of us were actively flipping things because everything was just, there was such a high turnover because of the more legitimate conflicts that were happening. I think it's pretty reasonable to actually sell. Like I'm imagining that before the winter's out, I can resell my Gilas at 230 mil per unit. Pretty confident that I can do that. All right, so those are the buys that we called out last week. It looks like all of the buys are still displaying buy signals. So if you want to kind of if you want to double down on that, these for this extended buy period, I think you totally should. One of the things I would probably definitely double down on would be the Gilas, actually. Gilas over Plex. Definitely Gilas over Plex, especially if you're, man, because I'm super hesitant to play. I would be very hesitant to play pilot services, especially if you're U.S. time zone, because by the time we get on U.S. time zone, folks, the market it's just too slow game wide, and you're really getting pretty bad deals, at least in the middle of the week. If you're okay kind of playing, if you play kind of early in the weekends, you may be able to see a better picture of the player services. But during the week, it's just really bleak looking. It just is. It's the way the time zones work. All right, so most of the things that we called are still buys. We should totally double down on some of those. All right, next I'm going to go over our sells. Again, continuing with kind of our theme of the pilot services. We called an observe on large scale injectors. I don't remember what the picture actually looked like from last week. So large, right? Yep, large scale injectors. Call this as a sell. It's still a sell signal. So it would have been right around here, just as it was cracking through the moving averages. So just as the 5-day moving average is about to cross up into the 20-day moving average, we call it a sell. That was pretty good. I think. Yeah, that's pretty good. I wish I was able to let you guys know about that a little earlier. Unfortunately, just because of the way the timing of the show is camped. But yeah, it looks like the sell signal actually manifested itself quite cleanly, and it's still strong. It's still showing the sell signal. The moving averages are in a position that still displays that, and the pricing basically is continuing to have an upward trend. Quite strong actually, because you got these medium prices landing above the 5-day moving average. That's a really strong short-term sign. How long can this keep up? I don't really see a reason for it to drop right now. It might end up going sideways for a few days. I don't think it's gonna go down. I think it's gonna go sideways. So the opportunity. Well, once it goes sideways, is it flippable? Flippable now, then I think that's gonna set the pace or set the tone. If it does start moving sideways into a trade channel, take a look. It's at least not right now. I'm pretty sure that's not flippable. Nah. Well, if you're doing the buy and sell strictly in near 0% Fortizars, there's a little bit of meat on the bone left. Yeah. That's interesting. Lowest orders are Neobinan. Why Neobinan? Why Neobinan? Who owns this? Oh, it's an Asbel. PV Corporation. Active war against pandemic horde. How interesting. How interesting. That's hilarious. That's a really good target. That's a really, really good target. Wonder why that is. Why I have a feeling that this is just one of the owners or one of the close partners of this structure that's actually making this play. I can't imagine that this is actually coming from the public. I have a hard time believing that these are actually generally market orders from the greater public. I don't think so. It's too clean. No way. No way. It's too clean. People aren't smart like that. Well, good for Horde. They should attack it. They should. Actually, can I see the percentage it's offering? I don't think I can. Well, it doesn't really matter. Actually, we got plenty of time. Fuck it, let's go. Let's go on a field trip, guys. Let's go undock. Ooh, crazy undock madness. Go check it out. I'm just curious if it's actually already reinforced. Have any of you guys done the agency stuff? I sure as hell haven't. It seems like the rewards just aren't worth it. Coffin Sleeper says started the new one. First reward, one Neris and one expanded cargo hold. National ship reward. Really? That's kind of cool. Oh, that's an invuln for the next 4 days. Alright, cool. That's kind of funny who's sitting here. Wow, okay, cool. Huh. Alright. This wars. Yeah, so I'm curious to see. I'm gonna make a note for myself real quick. So Neobine and Planet 5 trade. Let's see if this thing's still standing next week. Alright, so we'll see if this thing's still alive next week. Alright, next one I'm going to review, guys, is we called a sell on Gecko. It's mostly because it was actually in a pretty decent trading channel last week. It's definitely not in a sell anymore. It crossed below. Uh, it's a buy opportunity at least. It switched over to a buy opportunity. I mean, it looks like it's reasonably trading between 80 and 90 mil. So let's see if that's tradable. Can you flip it with those values? Yeah, 12% before taxes. If you're they're a bit of an outlier pricing, but it seems like it hits those ranges throughout the week, 80 to 90. Yeah. If you have the patience to watch it, I think Geico is a decent play this week. You just gotta know the limits. I just have no idea how these geckos are still in the market. No idea. It makes no sense. Alright, the structure bombs, what we called next, are from last week. They were just really wonky last week, so I'm curious. They're low this week. That tells me that the conflict's really, really simmering down. Volume still this it's lower. Volume's lower on a stand-up AM guided bomb. And the pricing is trending downwards. That's a terrible sign. Terrible. Same thing with stand-up AS. Ugh, man, I don't know. Things are simmering down, like for real. Unless the structures just don't really use up that much bombs, and maybe it's locally made and that's not a imported item from Jita or large hubs generally. I don't know, but at least based on what's available, from what we can see in Jita, at least, the market demand is cooling off. Definitely cooled off on Void, like hard. It just yeah, it is what it is. All right, so I'm not sure what the whole hubbub is about this big war, but seems pretty dead now. At least based on the market signals, it doesn't say anything about um, diplomatic shifts or anything like that, repositioning yourselves. But I can only speak of what's actually being bought and sold in the market. That's the biggest tell, you know. Like a lot of people will do a lot of chest beating, etc. But if you have your own industry and you can basically not have to be bothered to go to Jita and actually attack that market, it's a lot easier to actually hide your intentions. But if you don't have that luxury and you actually have to use the market to get your goods, it's an easy tell when things like move in large volumes. Diablo Chango says, was the big change recently with the bombs might have something to do with it. That drastically though. I mean, it's not like they offered other solutions. Like, you still need bombs. I mean, that's kind of the shitty part when balancing structure-related items, I guess. It's not a whole lot of diversity with your, ability to swap out mods and whatnot. I mean, you know what I mean? Because at the end, you're still going to need some of these items, regardless of whether they're shitty or not. Unless you can replace them with just having a more comprehensive fleet comp that's on grid with you. It's tough because I mean, it can be that difficult to build these. No, they're minerals. No. Yeah, but they nerf some of them like the void. Yeah, it's super obvious too when you look at the numbers, right? I mean, and that's one of the beauties of the market. Honestly, is like a lot of people can kind of like put on their tinfoil hat and just start opening their mouth and words come out. But at the end of the day, the market actions are a much stronger statement, because you're putting money, you're literally putting your money where your mouth is. And right now, the void bombs apparently had a really, really big nerf just based on their demand. So there you go. How is this gonna affect the? See, how is this gonna play out when the refineries come on and the void bombs simply don't become a viable option? I don't know. I'm not. Well, it's not like we have hard information anyway on the refineries. I don't think so, at least. As far as what kind of defensive abilities it's gonna have, if any at all, it's probably gonna be really weak defensively, I would imagine. It will probably need to be defensively weak in order to balance what it can do, what it's meant to do, which is drop a lot of resources, right? Or at least be the platform from which to drop a lot of resources. All right, cool. This makes me, if I was a null person and I was thinking about getting deep into refineries, this would make me really, really hesitant to do it. If I don't have the ability to actually, I mean, I understand that you're gonna need a fleet with you, you're gonna need your friends and all that stuff, but at the base level to be that weak, for the structures to be that weak, that's scary, super scary. All right, and finally, the last thing we called up from last week were the multiple pilot training certificates, the MPTCs. That's been seeing a lot of action the last couple of months, or for the better part of the year, honestly. So we called this as a sell last week. It's still a sell. Still a sell. It's continuing to trend up too. So I don't think this has to do. I mean, the sales were like 2-3 weeks ago, right? So this may not have anything to do with that, unless people just held on to it, and then they're just now releasing it into the economy. But even then, that shouldn't be. There's a genuine demand for it. The demand is sell side. It's not buy side. Based on the appearance of the graph. Yeah. Skill farming? Still? That seems like so much less money now, though. To continue with zombie farming activities. Topaz says, "Hey there, have you ever done any video on the basics of the Eve market? As far as like how to? No, I haven't. There's actually a lot of material out there from a few years ago that covered the how to of the Eve market. That's they did actually quite well. Actually, a lot of them are on YouTube. A lot. I'm almost certain there's some Eve University, some longer Eve University videos like that as well. Yeah, but this is kind of like the bulk of my content. Unfortunately, not necessarily how tos, more of a weekly reviews of the market, kind of like real life stock market shows, I guess, but with fake space money and fake space goods. Yeah, man, I'm almost certain Eve University has tons of them. Almost certain, and I'm pretty sure I've actually watched one or two of them that was actually narrated by um, one of their main instructors. Shoot, I forget it now. He's actually been in TIS a few times. Donnie, his character's last name is like Donahue, something like that. I forget. I'm sorry, guys. It'll come to me probably right after the show. It's like, got it. Too bad the show's over. If you guys happen to have these, I mean, the volume hasn't changed much. That's less than 100 a day. It's probably what in the 20s or 30s a day. But for an item that's over a billion, this kind of has taken with the exception of its volume, this probably has replaced that kind of niche um, asset holding or value holding ability that the large plex used to have, right? I wouldn't fuck me personally. I wouldn't fucking play this shit. No way, man. No fucking way. It seems like the low volume is such a turnoff for me. Such a turnoff. Because it doesn't take it only takes like one guy to be a real dick to mess up this market, or one guy to fat finger an order to really mess up this market, just because of that volume. Cthulhu says Seamus Donahue. Yep, that's him. There's like one or two that I actually watched of him doing Eve markets. I think I'm almost certain it was like at least 4 years ago, those videos. So, and the mechanics of markets haven't really changed. They're actually still relevant. As old as those videos are, they're still super relevant. Seamus Donahue. Yep, exactly. Seamus Donahue. That's another guy. One of the guys that contribute to the Eve is Easy YouTube channel. I think there's a handful of folks, or they compile other videos together. But I'm almost certain there's some from those guys. There's also market type kind of like mechanics content from the Eve Business Insiders. I think is what it's called. Eve Business Insiders. Yeah. So there's a lot of older like market mechanical content out there. I don't recall any really new ones. I don't think so. I think I've been seeing. Well, for one, Eve Markets just isn't really covered all that much as far as video content or even as written content at that, with the exception of the MER report and folks' interpretations of them, which, as it continues to be published in its current form, I think it becomes less and less relevant, unfortunately. Cthulhu says, yeah, his latest vids are from Elite Dangerous. You talking about Seamus? Or are you talking about the other guys? I haven't played Elite Dangerous. I just can't get into it, man. Especially if I'm gonna need like like a natural joystick. Like I'm not down to buying more like game paraphernalia. Okay, yeah. Seamus got a really nice voice for making videos, man. That's what I really like about him. He's got this very soothing kind of radio voice. Is that all? Yep, that's all. So that's all our call outs from last week. And I just want to share some items with you guys. Yep, the Lone Wolf. He was making content even before Lockfox started doing his, and I still watch the Lone Wolf every weekend. Saturday U.S. time is usually like by Saturday, midday Saturday. His YouTube content will be up, and then Sunday he does his like Sunday recap. Love the guy, man. I wish I wish. I think there was one or two episodes that he was actually doing with Facecam. I mean, he's not a bad looking guy. I think he should continue to do Facecam stuff. That's just me. And it just kind of it allows you to kind of make that personal that through the video like a personal connection because they see your face, right? All right, guys. What I laid there's an article from Rivra from INN concerning the moon mining mechanics that are now in CC. Reading through her article, I don't know how she manages to be like the first to write on a lot of these subjects, but God bless her. She's really on top of that stuff. It sounds like it's pretty bare bones what they're presenting in CC, like super bare bones. So I just read through the article and you kind of see. Let's see what I mean. Like we're not really able to play with the full complement of the mechanics and the gear in the way that they have described it through their articles and presentations in the past. Very, very bare bones. But one thing to remember, at least based on the timeline that they provided previously, we're getting this quite early, like several months in advance. I'm not sure what to think of that, to be honest, but my instant reaction to that is it highlights CCP's inability to do proper QA on its own products. It's really, really bad when the bulk of their QA is non-existent to the point where they kind of just shit out the product and they kind of have to scramble for balancing changes soon after it. Especially with something as important as moon mining and refining, and you're letting the big boys have a crack at this, they're gonna break it. They'll already have an idea of how to break this before it even launches. And is that okay? Or should we all start not knowing how to really use this thing? I mean, I think either path is valid. I just wish it was actually, I'd prefer for the game to be more equally footed against each other versus larger groups having potentially, like having already cracked the code on it before it even launches. Because then what's the point? It's a missed opportunity on them making a mistake and someone else capitalizing on it. That's just me. So what are the things that are not noted, that are not available to play with? The corporate ledger is not available, I don't think, from her article. I think that's the biggest thing that I kind of gravitated towards, because that's kind of one of the things that people were really, really anticipating, because it's going to be a great way to actually account for material that's being harvested. Up to that point, there really wasn't an intelligent way to do it. You kind of had to create your own tools, right? But to have it all in game is actually really, really nice. All right, so there's that. So hopefully Miss Reaver will be able to provide more articles concerning the moon mining and refining and all that stuff as it progresses through CC. As folks maybe discover ways to break it. Maybe she can write about it if she discovers them. I would hope. But we'll see. I think I just hope it comes out not so broken. That's all I want, man. For a really big thing, a really big mechanical and fundamental change to the game to come out not too broken. That's all I want. I don't think it's much to ask. I really don't. It's not. I think it's a fair expectation, but we'll see. All right, so just to kind of double back on these wars and structures that are potentially being attacked. Panafam has erected their second Fort Czar again. So we'll see. Actually, that's fine. They're at war with anyone. I'm sure they're at war, but is it obvious? So that's one of the structure holders. Nothing super obvious. Yeah, nothing super obvious. Okay, cool. So at least for now, they're being left alone. That's kind of cool. So could one of their market forests be attacked again in the future? Yeah, of course. The one cool thing about being in high sec is it can actually be attacked and actually lost. There's only so much. There's only so much diplomacy you can do in high sec, because it's more of a. Because then just there's just more people there. More people that can actually kind of hurt and touch your stuff. So yeah, I imagine as if the conflicts start escalating again, that their assets will probably be in danger again. But I would imagine one of the things that would probably prevent that would be better having a setup of the correct type of friends nearby. I would think. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm glad they were able to recover their structure, and hopefully there's content that gets derived from it. All right, that's really all I got for news stuff. So we'll go ahead and carry on with our picks of this for this week. So the first one we'll be calling out is buys for the Drake Navy issue. Very specifically, the Drake Navy issue. This is actually one of the highest converting items from the Caldari LP store right now. I think it's like at 1350 or somewhere around there. For a battle cruiser, that's actually really, really good. Like, I don't think even the Fleet Hurricanes got to that level throughout Minmatar's history. I don't think so. If it did, it didn't hold it for long. Okay, so Drake Navy issue is sitting in a really, really good trading channel. You can capture it at 200 quite comfortably and sell it at upwards of 250. It's a bit of an outlier, and it's definitely not happening on US time zone evening time, I'll tell you that right now. But is it flippable right now? Let's do the math. Yep, sure is. 11% before taxes, totally flippable. One thing I want to show you guys though is just look at the disparity between the buys and the sells. Lots of sell orders, lots of sell orders. Not so much buy orders. People have been dumping into these buy orders for a while now, and I've basically just exhausted all of it. So I know I've been telling you guys about that strategy of commit to buys, then commit to sells. This is exactly what's happening to the Drake Navy issues. Basically ever since Caldari hit tier 2, which probably is a bit over a month old now. So people have just been what would have been the optimum play, kind of in hindsight? As a non-LP converting person, the correct play would have been as you were anticipating Caldari to start entering into tier 2 and holding tier 2, be active in managing and cycling through your buy orders for things like Drake Navy issue, things like the faction cruisers, the ships and the modules. Those would have been like gimmies, absolute gimmies. Is the Drake Navy issue actually a usable ship? Yeah, it actually is. It's actually pretty strong. Believe it or not, it's actually pretty strong. It's worthwhile to get it. So the optimum play would have been commit to buys as you were anticipating Caldari to enter the tier 2, thus increasing the popularity of their LP items. At the same time, adding a bit of saturation to the value, which will then kind of validate your choice to actually make that move early enough, right? And then now that you've captured all those buys, so now weeks later you've captured however many you're able to. Now you're slapping it on the sell side. That would have been the optimum play. Is that easy to actually see though? And it's easy to talk about this stuff in hindsight, right? But is it actually easy to see that? If you actually look at the chart, if you know just the bare basics of how to read charts, yeah, I think you totally can intelligently make that call. Just based on charting. You probably may not even know the actual dynamics of the LP and the Caldari versus Galente, etc., etc. As long as you can actually somewhat read the charts, I think you eventually would have stumbled into enough evidence to at least consider it. So learn your charting, guys. It's a super easy way to actually get ahead in the market, because a lot of people when the moment you say market, like the almost like the Rorschach kind of response is speculation. It's not all speculation. A lot of it is actually acting on evidence. If you're able to identify and actually read the evidence, then you'll be able to make more intelligent choices. If there's anything I actually probably would make video content on, like a how-to, would probably a really good. Well, I would definitely cover charting. Charting as you see it in game, not out of game. I think there's much more value understanding what the in-game interfaces can actually give you, because the out of game is kind of an open world. All right, so Drake Navy issue, totally flippable, and unfortunately, you probably will not have a good time capturing it on buys. Not with this. It's too low. People are probably more inclined to actually wait out sells, I would say. But if you're sitting in a time zone where you can actually babysit this a little bit, I think it's worthwhile. All right, the next one is improved enhancement implants. So this is a large category. We've played this before. I actually haven't called this in a long time. But basically, what I mean from that is the improved attribute enhancers, the +5s, and it's all of them. Like literally, all of them are sitting good right now. Pretty sure it's +5. Yep, +5. So a lot of them are sitting at the 9 to 11% margin before taxes. Like literally every single one of them, just about. So disregard the pricing right now. Disregard that right now, because it looks really tight right now. Looking at the daily histories though, it's a huge channel. Huge. So you're looking at what, like 96, 97, upwards of maybe 108. Oh no. Yeah, it's better. Yeah, like 98 to 110 potentially. That's not bad. That's not bad. So trading, just said all of them are displaying this. All of them are displaying this really wide trading channel right now. So that's the +5 ocular filter. This is perception. There's definitely a lot more meat on the bone for the +5 implants right now versus the respective Genulution core slots. So I'd focus on the +5s right now. But if you want to play a more patient game, the Genulutions might offer you a little bit more versatility. And you'll just see this continuously. It's doing the same pattern over and over and over and over and over. Hopefully, we can actually start watching the Genulutions again. They were actually a really fun item to trade. Yep, and it's same thing. A bit under 100 to upwards of 110. And one more. Yep, they're all displaying it. Good to go. That's a super easy flip to do like all day. If you're looking for something that's really easy to manage, this is it. I probably wouldn't attack those trades unless I have at least 1 billion to play with, though, to make it worthwhile. At least a billion, at least. All right, so those are all the buys. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. All right, for sells, advanced PI. By that I mean the highest tier PI. The stuff that's used to make the structure components, basically. That's a really like dead giveaway. Again, we're going to focus on the charts and not the pricing, because the pricing actually looks quite tight for right now. But above average for broadcast nodes, it may be on its way down. So if this is something you can act on like before downtime, it's maybe worthwhile for you. Especially if you happen to capture this while it was still at this trade channel, and you just need a quick item to cash out that's got relatively high value. That might be it. Same thing with the integrity response drones. It looks like it's got a little bit more. It's got enough juice to keep going, to at least maintain a high value right now. It's not trending downwards quite yet, so that's a better look versus the broadcast nodes. Constantly trying to improve your search bar, easier to find. Yep. The only one of the main reasons I definitely look at it in category by category. Sometimes I feel compelled to actually look at each one, and every now and again you'll find you'll find a gem. Like, hey, the chart looks really really odd. Like, oh, there's hardly any buys for this item, or there's hardly any sells for this item. Why is that? Is that something I can capitalize on? Sometimes otherwise you just don't stumble into those. Even tools that actually are supposed to find those typically don't, because unless they can identify the number of line item order types, like how many buys versus how, like order breadth. Unless they can actually identify that specifically, they're not gonna catch it. Sometimes, I guess sometimes the moral of the story is you're gonna have to just window shop. The nano factory is quite narrow, not much there. Not sure what this is all about though. Why is there such a high? It's a high volume going sideways. The heck? Let's see. Hold on. Hold on here. It's not even tradable. Or flippable rather. It's not even flippable. This actually looks super strange. So this I can kind of get because these are like you got some outliers happening here on these high volume days. But to have a relatively actually a cool like almost double normal volume on a flat chart, why is that? It's like a trade fight. It's like some like buys and sells actively competing in a very very short amount of time that produce a lot of volume. That produced a lot of volume traded. That's what it looks like, or that's what that's what I think of when I see something like that. It's like a little story in each of these charts, man. It's crazy. Yeah, it's very suspicious. That almost makes me want to stay away from this. Organic motor applicators. It's pretty volatile. You could probably capitalize on this volatility. It seems like you end up waiting quite a while though. Even if you were to capture this in say 115 or 1.15, if you captured this at 115, you're probably gonna have to wait like at least 45 days to cash out. Some people may not be okay with waiting 45 days for a cash out. Recursive computing module, man. This used to be my bread and butter, man. This used to be my bread and butter. Pricing hasn't changed much. It's still slightly above average right now, but it looks like it's about to hit a downward slope. So if you can act on it now, like before downtime, it might be worthwhile to actually just straight sell this. Assuming you've been holding on to it for a while anyway. Yeah, high volume. And this is so pictures like this is okay. That kind of makes sense. So high volume, but on a very outlier-ish day. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. It's probably some RMT shit, to be honest. Self-harmonizing power core. That's kind of a lower volume, 10K. What are the others? Yeah. Low volume. Why is that? You could definitely capitalize on this kind of wave-like pattern if you're patient enough. Stereo conduits looks like it's on the rise. The medians are definitely hitting above the 5-day average. Good sign. It's probably going to continue to go up, at least for a little while. And finally, wetware mainframes. Oh man, it used to be so good. This is one of those pictures where it's literally like it's going to start to move sideways tomorrow, more than likely. Like after downtime, it's going to start moving sideways. It's a bit of a shame. So then you're not really going to know how it's going to go after that. The short-term calls on this is basically dead. But what long-term call could you make out of this? I'd be hesitant to actually buy into this, even knowing that it's going to start going sideways. Unless I know for a fact that it's going to raise in value quite quickly once the refineries are available to be made but that doesn't mean much considering how much people have stocked PI over the last 6+ months in preparation just for this. I'd be hesitant to buy into this. Yeah. Super hesitant. At least now. No, not at 250. I wouldn't be hesitant. No, I'm definitely not gonna buy into this at 250, unless I can comfortably get this at 2 mil. Yeah, maybe. All right, next item. Oddly enough, some things that we don't normally look into. Some ice products. Strong looks good. Strong looks real good. It's about to hit. It's about to go sideways again too. Look at that. So a genuine. I think this is probably just a response from the very aggressive increase in pricing. Will this actually go back to this trade channel right here? Hard to say. It's probably likely. I think it's pretty likely, unless this is like is like Strawn's like one of those things that's just kept on stock. Like it's like Doritos and Mountain Dew. Everyone has them. Have them in bulk. Like everyone has Doritos and Mountain Dew in bulk. Just saying. There's never really a shortage of this stuff. Not really. Condor says the thing is there is very little that actually goes into a refinery, according to what CC shows in the blueprints. Really? I wonder if the material sink then becomes the module. I would hope so, right? Kind of doesn't make sense if it's too cheap to make. But at the same time, it's also only CC, right? I mean, we don't always get a 100% like fidelity between what's happening in CC and what's going to happen in Tranquility. That's a great observation, though, man. Thank you. If I have Strawn and I know for a fact that I'm not gonna be using it, I'll probably sell that shit right now. Like right now. Next one is all the various isotopes. Most of the isotopes are generally just upward trending. If you just happen to be like an ice miner in Empire and you just have tons of isotopes, you might want to consider selling it right now. Helium isotopes up, nothing crazy on volume. Hydrogen's the same, steadily increasing. Liquid ozone's super flat. Liquid ozone's almost always super flat. Nitrogen is it just went up there, boom, and then now it's gonna flatten out. It's still worth it to sell it if you happen to have captured it from like over here, obviously. And oxygen is quite flat. Oxygen is for Galente. Okay. Galente caps aren't really they've probably been overshadowed by the other races, right? So out of all the isotopes, looks like oxygen's the loser. The rest are trending upwards. I mean, it's gotta be. It's a cap thing, right? It has to be a cap thing. I would think. Isotopes plus Strong. It has to be a cap thing. Alright, cool. Yeah, we didn't really do a lot of calls today, guys, but I think we were able to kind of discuss some of the whys, some of the things of, like why things are happening and, just because of the changes that are upcoming. I'm more curious about the multiple player training certificate more than anything, to be honest with you. Is zombie farming still a thing? Is this still good? Like, I didn't think so. I haven't heard anything about it in a while. I thought it was dead. Alright, well, that's really all I got, guys. So what am I anticipating for next week? I'm anticipating more articles concerning kind of diplomatic shifts. I don't think there's going to be full-on engagements up until right before, until we get more. I think there's going to be more conflict as the refinery mechanics gets more hashed out and people have a better idea of how it's going to work and where they're going to place it, which moons are going to be having what mineral or whatever. I think that's when the actual conflict's going to happen. Until then, I think it's all Cold War stuff until then. I have a hard time believing that things are going to pop off, because then there wouldn't be a reason. you're just like queuing up for PvP servers. That's all you're doing. So we'll see. Hopefully there's going to be more action in low sec for faction, even for just faction warfare stuff. I've actually been getting more activity in low sec. Oddly enough, like the space just seems a bit more alive, which is really, really good. So hopefully I can actually report on that. That's one thing I definitely need to do. And I might actually do like a how to read charts video. I think it's worthwhile to do. I'd hate to lose folks in my discussions of the charts. You know what I mean? But it's actually quite simple. It's really, really, really simple. Like I'm a self-taught charts guy. You know, it's not that hard. Especially with the way the market window shows it, it's not too complicated. You know, it works with very simple technical indicators. All right, I'll revisit that, and maybe I can steal one of you guys to actually help me make that video. Hopefully. All right, I think I'm gonna end it here. Just a bit over an hour. Sounds really good. Topaz seems like a good video to do. Yeah. I think I will, man. I gotta figure out how to present it, but I think I will. I think I really, really will. Yeah, I don't have anything else. I'm continuing with my Albion online content. Did another video last week. Actually, let me go like that. I had a lot of. I think the sound quality was a lot better versus the previous episodes. But I still keep getting complaints about the audio. Like, I just don't know how to fix it, guys. If someone could help me, that'd be great. Because it's actually an improvement. And I'm still getting like, oh my god, like, guys, I don't know how to fix the fucking audio right now. I don't know how to fucking do it. Topaz, man, is Albion really worth it for someone that like to play Eve? Dude, there's been a lot of migration happening into Albion. A lot of migration. Like, even the market community people have done at least a good amount of dabbling into, like, I mean, like the SEC launch dudes, like almost all of them are all to Albion, because the markets are a hell of a lot healthier than at Eve. It's worth playing for just for markets. It's totally worth playing. It's totally worth playing because it's not super saturated the way Eve is. And there's still that element of, we don't have the tools, so you have to actually be in game to figure it out. You can get away with not being in game and actually still play Eve. That sucks. Alright, so that's my self promo time right there. But hey, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it, and so I just don't think I can get into settling of the game. That's it. We'll see. I'm hoping. I find myself trying to be that bridge between like the Eve stuff and the Albion stuff. It's because they're so like the spirit is so similar. The mechanics aren't similar, but the spirit is so similar. But you know, me being a gamer, all I really want to do is just try to get more people to play the same game I'm playing. Right? That's really all I want to do. You know. Connor says the ice pod is probably a rough from Goose moving all the capitals. Yep, that's what I figure. That's what I figure. But to have so low of so little action on Galente ice. I mean, is Galente capitals really like not a thing anymore? Like that's what it appears like in the markets. Yeah, you should totally give it a chance, Topaz. You really should. It's free. But not really free. You kind of have to be a premium member. If you're not premium, you might. If you can't afford to be premium or don't want to work to be premium, don't play Albion. Don't. You have to basically subscribe. Basically, just be honest. With Eve, you can actually be a legit free to play. like Eve is friendlier as a free to play model than Albion is. No, not. Eve is way more generous with its free-to-play model. Way more generous. The free-to-play model with Albion is basically not playable. If you have even a single drop of competitiveness in you, it's not going to be worth it to be a free-to-play pleb in Albion. It's not worth it. Connor says, well, Minotaur Dreads is what the goons are used the most of. Also, the Nid is one of the best carriers to ride it, so more people train into them. That's true. Oh, Topaz, I thought it was a buy once kind of. Nope, it is not a buy one. The buy once was a founder's pack. It's basically your. So you still have to buy the game, but that gives you only 30 days of premium. Once that premium time runs out, then either you can still play, but the perks that come with the premium is just, it's game breaking. You need them to be competitive. You need them. At least right now, it's at a state where you still need them like a lot. It's not. I don't know. We'll see. And that's actually that's worth discussing in the next show. Thank you very much. I think I'm gonna use that. That's a really good. That's a really good topic. That's a really good topic. All right. Alright, I think I'm gonna cut it here, guys. We're about an hour 15 here. And yeah, well, thank you very much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. Glad to see new names come up in Twitch chat. Really appreciate it. And this will be up on YouTube. I'm gonna link my channel. So this will be up tonight for sure. In the next few hours here. So that's my channel right there, and it'll be up in the next 3 hours or so. That doesn't take much. I actually just straight upload this. I don't do any editing on these. Too lazy. All right. Well, thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you guys next week.